correctly. So LEAP is a digital point of sale application that helps contractors to digitize their entire in-home sales process. So basically, it's looking at everything from generating estimates to displaying your company's stories. It allows for you to display your brochures electronically, can generate proposals and contracts. It integrates financing and secure payment capture. It's basically everything that you do from the time that you pull up in the driveway to the time that you're going to leave that appointment. So it's just a real quick little overview of what LEAP is. So now we'll jump right into what we're all here for today. And I would like to introduce our speaker, Ryan Bolin. Ryan's the commercial sales manager at the Basement Doctor. He's been there for the last 8 years. And we're really, really happy to have him here today. And Ryan, if you could let us know a little bit more about your background and give us an overview of the Basement Doctor, that would be great.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Thanks for coming, listen to us talk today. Like I said, LEAP has changed the way we do business from beginning to end, and we'll get more into that. A little bit about me and the Basement Doctor. We've been in Columbus, Ohio for over 30 years now. And just like everything else, we've grown with the industries and how things change. So, we started out way back when just as a waterproofing company, and then through necessity, foundation repair. And because we started to build a reputation and people trusted us, we made ourselves the best at doing everything that people needed. So whether it's crawl space encapsulation, waterproofing, foundation repair, we have basement finishing services, mold cleanup and treatments, and very, very, disinfectant services have been so busy. Obviously, everybody's been affected by COVID and the shutdown. And because of my background in infection control, like I'm sure a lot of you do, I wear different hats during different times here at the Basement Doctor. So not only do I oversee our commercial sales and our residential sales, I also oversee all of our disinfection services personally. So, and LEAP has been a big part of all of those. So not just part of them, but everything that we do. So, like I said, we've grown and grown and grown. And just over the past, it's been almost 3 years now with LEAP, we have dramatically changed the way we do things, and everything's been for the better. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a few of the 6 points on, how it's changed for us. And I encourage you guys to ask questions, please. This should be interactive, because I was, not that long ago sitting in the same seat you're in, listening for my company. I spearheaded this because I wanted to change the way we did things, because our process could take up to 6 hours at sometimes, because all the different contracts and all the different things. So I encourage you to ask questions. That's what we're here for, and that's why LEAP does this. Instead of them just telling how great they are, they get us out there who have been completely changed by LEAP, and let us talk about our stories, and which we're happy to do. So ask questions. Like I said, I sat in your seat and figured, how am I going to do this? We're so used to doing things a certain way, and it's been ingrained in our company. Whether you're a $15 million a year company like we are on our residential and commercial side, or you're a $1 million a year company, or somewhere in between, it's tailored just for you. And again, we'll get into more of that here as we go along. But again, I encourage you to ask questions. That's what we're here for. So let's do it.
Great. That's perfect. All right. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump right into our first point here. So Ryan, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about how your sales process has evolved, how you've seen some differences in the way you work from before you went digital to after making that transition, and what you've seen some of the benefits there.
Right. And I'll be honest, I had to fight for this. We were so used to doing things a certain way. And our now retired co-owner came from the finance industry, where he believed in having 7 copies of every piece of paper that we used. So we had, and that's not a knock on him, because he was very organized. It's just we had to build 2 outbuildings to store paper. So we had to heat and cool 2 separate buildings, because we do a lot of work. So, and we had to keep records. So so I saw some of that stuff, and because we do so many different things and we offer different warranties on each different thing we do, that meant it was a separate contract. And I'm sure a lot of you are the same way, right? So if we had a waterproofing warranty we were going to issue, it had its own page, and then a foundation repair had its own page, and then we had our our project work card, to where you summarize everything up for the installing foreman. So then that was 3 pages. And then the financial pages, special considerations, a graph sheet. I mean, it just goes on to where you had this stack of paperwork for every job. And if you're selling let's just use for an example, a $35,000 or $40,000 waterproofing repair job and foundation repair job, you're going to be filling out paperwork for 3 hours. And and I'm sure it's the same everywhere, but you're not allowed to have any strikeouts, no crosses with initials on them, any of that stuff in the state of Ohio. So if you make a mistake, you're starting over, right? So all of that time, so let's say you spend 2 hours with your homeowner or your client, and you're going through and they say, great, let's do this, let's go ahead. And they're exhausted by that time, right? They've gone through, you have to realize that what we do, no matter what industry you're in, what we do is great because we go from not knowing someone, right? They call our office and say, okay, come and look at this job for us. So you as a sales rep have to go in that house, gain their trust, right? Show them that your solution's better than anybody else. These days they could have 6 people in there, right? So that not only is your solution better, your process is better, and then you're going to ask them for a third of the job or 20% of the job. So that's exhausting, right, for you and for the person. So when you get down to paperwork, the last thing you want to have to do is say, okay, well, I'm going to be sitting here at your kitchen table for the next 2.5 hours filling out paperwork. If you have any questions, let me know. People lose interest in that time, right? And with Leap, you only have to enter the information once. It only pulls the contracts that you need, the warranties that you need, and you have one contract. So that dramatically reduces the time you're sitting there writing their name over 6 times, writing their address over 6 times. All of that stuff is valuable time where you could be out helping someone else, right? So if you cut your paperwork time from, let's just call it 2.5 hours sometimes, or 2 hours, or whatever it is your paperwork time is, down to 30 minutes, and that's with reviewing and signing it, over a week, think about how many hours you save in just a week's time. Like we have 20 reps in the field, between commercial and our annual maintenance and our residential guys. So I've got 20 guys out there. If I'm saving, an hour and a half on each appointment, I mean, it adds up so quick. So we're able to see more people and get more business in the door. I mean, that's just the first thing. So reducing time is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And how have you seen that translate over, like from the sales process through to production as well? Does that
right
impact
Absolutely.
that process too?
It does. So we've actually, because of how efficient Leap is, we had to rethink our entire process of bringing a project in, right? Because when everything was handwritten, out of our corporate office here, we service about 2.5 hours in any direction from us, right? So let's say if I have a project in Southern Ohio that's handwritten on a bunch of contracts, granted that the math is right and the names are all spelled the same and everything's good there, and it's all filled out, well, that rep has to now drive it to the office, right? So that in itself adds a whole lot more time because everyone's having to bring jobs in. So now we can send everything in electronically because it's all done on Leap. We have it set up to where when a contract goes through, the rep gets a copy of the contract, the customer gets a copy of the contract, the production department gets a copy of the contract, and admin. So it all goes out at once. So the job automatically goes to the production department, right? So it literally took 5 processes out. And as a matter of fact, 2 people that were just sitting there taking in jobs, just checking math and checking stuff like that. So it dramatically changed. So we used to have, so an average job, so let's say it was on a Monday, it had to be in by the following Monday. And we told the customers that, look, it takes time. We're out running around. We have to drive these in. Now we are on a 24-hour maximum turnaround for having a job processed. So we've gone from a week to a day, essentially.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Right.
Awesome. Just keep an eye. We've got a couple of questions that came in on that point from John. First one, are you designing the scope of work while you're at the kitchen table?
Yes, everything that we do, you know, our slogan for a long time was small basement repairs to big basement finishes. So that means we can go in and change a sump pump for $500, or we can go finish a basement for $100,000. So and then everything in between, right? So yes, everything that we do is custom tailored. And my interaction with Leap has been that they've taught me how to go through and customize things myself. And I know that if I get to a point to where I need them to do something for me, you know, I always have a person that's right there on top of it. So, and we just discussed this a little bit ago. So yes,
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
customize everything that we do. So our entire price catalog is already loaded in your iPad, and it's very easy to use and navigate, super easy to navigate. So everything is standard pricing and all that stuff in there. And we have custom products you can add. So you can make a custom product line and name it whatever you want, price it whatever you want, and it fits right in with everything else. So Leap is very versatile in the fact that you can go outside a standard box on your price list if you have to.
Perfect. And then the next question John has relates a little bit to this next point. So I'll go ahead and flip to our next topic for discussion here. And his question is, if you're using Leap for repair appointments, specifically small jobs, say 2,000 and under, and I know you've got like a bunch of different lines of business and things like that you've condensed down using Leap. So you've went from multiple different contracts in one area down to another. So just wanted to jump into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we had what we called a home improvement contract, which was standard things where we would offer a 1-year warranty on. So small, minor fixes. And it's funny you say under $2,000 because we tailored that certain contract to anything under $2,500. So we had that contract. And then we had our waterproofing contract and our foundation repair, electrical services, plumbing services, egress, helical peering. These all were different papers, right? With their different warranties. So the way that Leap works is, so let's say you're going out to change a sump pump and you just need that little specific warranty for your installation or your manufacturer's warranty on that pump. You just push a button and it pulls it out of Leap's database and that's the only thing on the contract. So if you're just going out to do a minor repair, you don't have all the noise, because I'm sure we all have contracts that cover multiple products. So you're not going to check, oh, this is the one we're doing here, and trying to mark out the other stuff, which starts to look sloppy. So I hope that answers your question, because only what you need it to pull, it pulls. So there's no background noise. You know, with the multiple services, the way we have it set up, because that's the way it was easiest for our reps, and you can customize this thing, is I have it so our guys tell Leap which warranties to apply. Because we have products that can have multiple warranties, right? Wall coatings is a good example. If you do a wall coating without waterproofing, it has a 1-year warranty, and if it's done with waterproofing, it has a lifetime warranty. So we needed the ability to say, give, you know, this product this warranty. So I have it as buttons on there. So, you know, so it's pretty easy to navigate on multiple services, and you know, so we have one header. Everything's pulled under that one header for our contract, and that contract could be 1 page long or it could be 7. It just depends on how many things we're doing there.
Yep, perfect. And thanks, John, for those questions. Very, very, very nice. And I know we touched on a lot of kind of that, using the multiple, one contract for multiple services on the previous one. We do have another question actually from Noel, and I'll just keep these kind of coming as they come in for you for sure. So Noel's question is that during the build out, how did you get over the challenge of transitioning from one method, say like Excel, to the structure in Leap as you build it out from like an admin kind of perspective?
All right, so you have to, so here's where and it's funny, Chris and I always joked about this, you have to take the leap. You have to say, okay, listen, we're going to do this, and you have to have resolve and say, okay, I'm tired of filling out this paper, because paper sucks. And I'm going to put the effort into getting this price list built. You know, the way Leap does it is they pair you with someone and they help you through it. So you have your one person you talk to. They have YouTube videos, and you set webinars, and there's all manner of things that help you go from getting your price list in Leap to designing your contract to verbiage. I know that I sent originally, what I did is I sent Leap a copy of just everything that we had, right? So they had the whole database of all of our stuff, and then we kind of picked and chose on how it worked. So it's a little bit work up front, but the payoff is unimaginable. Like it'll change your business. And again, I'm not saying that because Leap said, hey, come and say how great we are. They said, do you want to be involved with this? I said, absolutely, because it virtually changed the way we operate. So it was a great opportunity just to show you guys how it works for us. And yeah, you're going to have some work up front, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that answers your question, Noel. Thanks for sending that in.
Yeah, if it didn't, let me know. Again, I think that it did though.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so jumping into our next point here. So reducing errors. So I've heard this as a point from multiple customers and things like that. Is just like the time savings from having to go back and double check things, and then just like the error reduction and right. How that helps your business.
So everyone listening and everyone out there who's ever been in the field filling out contracts has had a brain fart, or they misspelled something wrong, or that customer is talking to you while you're doing paperwork about their dog, and you don't add something up the right way, and you spend all that time filling out all that paperwork, and you take it back to your office, and you give it to your production manager, and he just looks at you with that blank stare and says, here, go fix this, right? That is the worst, because what happens is now you're taking the time when you could have been seeing someone else, bringing in new business. You're irritating a homeowner or a business owner because you call them and say, hey, listen, I made a mistake. I have to come back out and fix this. You're spending the time to go out there. You go through all the chit chat again just to have a change order signed or redo a contract because you made a math error. None of us are perfect, right? It just doesn't happen. So when you, even the name, right? You put someone's name in there once, right? You don't have to worry about their address and their name and their zip code and their phone number. It's in there once. Leap does the math for you. It calculates any math that you need, discounts, commission, anything that you want it to calculate, you can tell it to calculate. So the math errors are huge, because sometimes people don't catch math errors until you're already doing the job, and still. So that's a time thing and an ease of use thing. So just the fact that it does all the math for you. I don't like doing math anyway, so you got other stuff to do. So yes, that's a huge benefit.
Absolutely. Perfect.
And the signature boxes too. So think about the same thing. So before we go on to the next one, you're signing things once. So you have to initial for all the warranties, but you're not signing 17 contracts, and that's another time saving thing. When you have one contract, they have to sign it once, and they have to initial things once instead of 7 times. So that's another kind of pre-filling thing, you could call it that, is that you're not signing all those 17 papers you filled out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the step-by-step process that the app walks you through, so that you're making sure you've got all your measurements, all your other components that you need to then be able to push that through to production successfully without having that kickback.
Yeah, so. Leap, and that's one really cool thing about Leap, is it won't let you go on to the next step until you've completed the step you're working on. So we call them the red box, right? The red box. If you miss something, like a right to rescind, right, is a good example. If you didn't get the right to rescind date right on there, it says you must fix this before you go to your next step. So not only is it calculating things for you, it's making sure that you catch all your initial boxes, you catch all your signature boxes, and you have to review. And it slows you down a little bit because you have to review that document with the customer as you go through it, right? So it shows them each time an initial box comes up, it shows them what they're initialing for on the screen. Each time a signature box comes up, it shows them on the screen what they're signing for. So It takes a lot of the confusion because everyone also knows that when you put a bunch of papers in front of someone and they get sick of signing stuff, that you could get them to sign the deed to their house away because they're just signing at that point, right? It's not a good thing. So Leap also makes you kind of slow down a little bit and makes them look at what they're signing or initialing, so you don't have the old, well, your rep said this, or I was never told that, or we've all had that same thing happen, right? It's all business. It eliminates a lot of that too.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent point. All right. So with that, we'll jump into our fourth point, elevating your professionalism. So how do you feel that using Leap has kind of changed your customers' experience from that paper process to the more digital? Like, how are they receiving that in the field?
Right. So, I'm going to be goofy here, but if you're a one-man operation, or if you're like us, we have 120 people that work in this office. You see the same Leap, right? Everybody looks the same. So you can look as professional as anybody else in the industry, and really differentiate yourself by playing the part and looking like you put the time and care and effort into showing them that they're important. And I think that makes a huge difference, because we get a lot of feedback, because every time we do a job or every time we run an appointment, actually, we send out surveys and podium requests and all these things to make sure that we're doing things the best we can, right? Time and time again, we get people responding with, the paperwork was easy. It's gone faster than I've ever had hired someone in my house before. It looks professional. It's not scribbled on the back of a business card. I mean, we've all been in someone's house or business where they had an estimate from somebody else. It's a number written on the back of a card, right? So it sets you apart and shows that you've taken the time and care and effort to put them first, because that's, the customer. If you go into every house with a customer thinking they have a sign on their head that says, "What's in it for me?" It's a good way to think about it. So you're showing that you care about them and you want to be professional and give them the best paperwork that you can, not taking all day while you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. It does definitely show the customers that you're taking the care and the pride to present like the best experience possible for them. And it really kind of levels the playing field a little bit if you're, a $600,000 company versus a $6 million company. Like,
Right.
it really just makes that presentation kind of seamless across the board. Like, the customer wouldn't necessarily know that.
Right. And that in itself is a marketing tool, right? I mean, when you're in the house with someone and you're sitting there showing them Leap, and you explain to them, listen, we do this because it's quicker for you, it's easier for you, it's more secure for you. You don't have to worry about math errors, and you don't have to worry about all this time involved. That's a marketing, that's a sales tool in itself. Just the fact that you're using the best thing that's out there to take care of them and their job.
100%. Yeah. And that professionalism, I think, really translates into like a trust factor too, for the customer to be able to say, all right, I'm putting my faith in you as a contractor to get this done. Like, I feel comfortable in this package that you're presenting to me. And it just kind of elevates that trust factor for sure.
Yep.
Very good. So piggybacking off of that trust factor. So when it comes to the actual payment process, how has going digital kind of impacted that process for your customers in terms of like the secure payment and all of that good stuff?
Well, we knew what we were doing was wrong. We knew for a long time that it is not okay to write someone's credit card down ever on anything. I'm sure some of you have, we call it a cash verification form. It's where we'd collect the information and take it into accounting. So they'd put it in the computer. You're not supposed to write people's credit card number down or their routing numbers for their checks or any of that stuff. Yet, what was the better way before? So it's happened to everybody where you wrote something down and you misplaced it, or you didn't write a number down wrong, and then all of a sudden you're in trouble because you're telling that customer, hey, on the way back to the office, this or this happened and I lost your credit card information. That's a great way to lose a job like that. I know that because it happened to me once. being as careful as possible. It's happened once, thank goodness only once, but it did happen to me once. I had a cash verification form blow away, and I chased it and couldn't catch it. And that lost me that job, because they said, if I can't trust you with my credit card information, how the hell am I going to trust you to work on my house? So, you can have checks put in there, credit cards, and it's super encrypted to where it's safe. The capture method doesn't keep the card number, and it doesn't show the card number. It shows the last four on the contract, but the rest of them is secure. And that in itself will get you a job over the next guy, because people are getting more and more leery about giving their credit card information out. If they've ever had their identity stolen, especially, they're not going to give it to you. So then the problem with that is you add a new step, because you go to the office and you tell your accounting department, well, you have to call them and get this credit card number over the phone, or you have to call them to get their routing number if you're going to do an ACH. So again, you're adding time to someone else's day, because you didn't have a secure way to capture their credit card information. Or if you're not capturing that, you lose the chance to collect a deposit. So let's say you're trying to be as safe as you can, and you're not collecting credit card information for a third of the job or half of the job or whatever. You're missing out on that money, because you take the risk of not getting paid anything on that job. So it's a way to securely collect deposits and payments, and our foremen have the same ability to, because we as a business expect payment as soon as we're finished, right? We don't do terms for people. I mean, we're done. You saw, pending everything's good, right? We did a great job for you. Okay, it's time to pay us, right? So we don't send invoices to people. So our foreman can do the same thing and charge the same card that's on file. So they call them envelopes. So you capture the card in the very beginning, and the card's not ran until you tell Leap to run the card. So it's captured in the system securely. You run the deposit when the contracts go through, and then when you're done, you already have the card information in the file, so you can charge the card pending or using the same payment form when you're done. So it's a once and done kind of thing.
Perfect. Yeah, and that's a very seamless process for the customer too. And like you said, that just kind of sets their mind at ease and makes it a little bit easier to get that e-signature on the dotted line there.
Sure does.
Absolutely. All right. And that brings us to our sixth point about ensuring consistency. So I know we talked a little bit, before the webinar today about like how consistency has made a difference in your business, particularly on the pricing side of things. So could you delve into that a little bit?
I sure will. And I'll tell them the same story I told you originally about 6 on your side. I'm sure you guys all have channel 6 or channel 4 or whoever in your local area that has the the community protectors out there, and they're gonna get all the bad contractors for doing all their bad work. I personally was shocked by a news channel here to where they took the same scope of work and they went to 6 different places around Columbus, Ohio, with 6 different income levels, and they shopped companies. And then they put all of the results on the news. What they found was that some of the companies out there, thank goodness it wasn't us, and we'll get to that in a minute, but so they, on 6 o'clock news, they put, here's what's happening to you in your community. These home improvement contractors are out there to get your money depending on what your income level is. Well, luckily we were exactly consistent. And this is before Leap across the board, but they showed some of these contractors out there that had upwards of $10,000 to $12,000 in difference for the same scope of work for different parts of town, right? And so they used it as a smear campaign, is what they did. But luckily, we were one of the 2 people that didn't get smeared on the news. And they ran a little ticker across the bottom and said, here's the people that did a good job, right? So then, of course, it gives us all a black eye. But the consistency is that your same price list applies no matter who you are, where you're from, what you do for a living, where you live, all of that. It takes all of that out of it, and everybody gets the same price for the same job with the same looking paperwork. And when they hire you multiple times, which they will do, they know it's going to be consistent the second time as it was the first time. So they know when they call you back to finish up, maybe you just did part of a job the first time because it's a financial thing for them. And
Hmm.
they call you back to do that second part of the job. They know what they're going to get. And when they see that the second time, um, they remember it. They know the process, and they can zip right through it. And so the consistency factor, not only can it make you look good to the community at large, because we all want to give back to the community and look good in the eye of the community, it can save you from a lot of trouble and accusations. And so your price list is your price list, and that in our case really saved us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that, the price guide component within in Leap, and that's really like ensuring that consistency across the board. Have you found that that's also helped with like as you're training new sales reps and things like that to kind of get them up to speed really quickly and having kind of and minimizing their question marks about, how should I price certain jobs and things like that?
Yes, actually, it's funny. I was looking to see if I have one here. Our price catalog before Leap was 46 pages long.
Wow.
And yeah, 46 pages was our price book before we got it all digitized. And remembering all of that stuff is, we would have to go through days of training to get people with, because we have different mobilizations and admins, because the way we price things, it's kind of per piece on what that thing is. And then depending on how far away you are, because we have a large service area, right? So if you're 2.5 hours
Hmm.
away, your mobilization charge is going to be a little higher than if you're 10 miles away, right? So then they would have to learn all of that different mobilizations for if you're 40 to 60 miles away, and what admin's going to go on there. Uh, it takes all that out of it, because you can look up the price of, there's a little search tool in Leap. You can look up the price of anything that's in the price guide with the customer. And it helps you be a lot more upfront with people about things. It's not your fault that this widget costs $1,000, because that's what it costs in the price book, right? So when you're telling
Hmm.
someone how much something costs, they can see it. The thing I love about Leap, one of the things that I really think is neat, it has a running job total at the bottom. So when you're building an estimate, you're building a proposal for somebody, it shows you at the very bottom that their total is going up as you add something. That really helps people not have to wonder, is he charging me the right thing for this, or is he just making something up, right? So that consistency really takes that worry away from people. Look, this is what it costs. It's in our program. I'm not making this up. You can compare it to any other estimates that we do, and it's going to be the same across the board. So that it takes that worry out from people too.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that's something that we've definitely heard from other customers and things like that, where if you've got like just one lump sum and the customer's not really sure how you arrived at that number, you get a little bit more of an objection when it comes to closing the sale versus if you're
Right.
able to see that kind of itemized out component list, if you will, of what's going into the job. It definitely helps them to feel more comfortable with how you got to that number.
Right. And
So.
you can choose, we kind of keep ours middle of the road, right? You can choose how much information they see and how much they don't. That
Mhm.
is 100% up to you. I mean, you can go line item by line item. So you can show unit cost, you can show all of that stuff, or you can back it off a little bit. So we kind of stick right in the middle. A neat thing that Leap does as well is it's built in sections. So, you'll have a foundation repair section and then a crawl space section. And if they want to know, so let's say they're doing a bunch of work and they say, well, okay, well, how much is it if I did everything except the crawl space? So instead of going and refiguring out all this stuff, you just literally turn off a switch and it takes all the crawl space stuff out. And then it updates the total at the bottom. So that's awesome in itself too, because we've all done the same thing. Then you're going back through your math and going, oh wait, what mobilization was on this part, or what's applied to here? They all have their values, so you can just turn off a thing and it updates the total, and you can turn it right back on. So that is a really neat tool in itself as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So that brings us through our 6 main points. I do have a question for you real quick, Ryan, before we get to the Q&A. So if you guys on the audience have any questions, feel free to drop them in there. We'll get to those in just a moment. But Ryan, I did want to ask, like, if you had any advice for anyone who might be evaluating LEAP or thinking about taking their process digital? Like, what would your kind of main takeaways be for that?
If you don't do it now, you're never going to do it, because I look back and so we did that whole devil's advocate thing and said, okay, here's how much it's going to cost us to do this, and we're going to have some money invested, and we're going to have a license fee. And when you sit down and do the math, it's extremely lopsided in the fact that you're saving yourself so much money by paying those little fees. Because if you look at the time lost, and and you have to look at everything: production time, admin time, time in the field, travel time, all those things add up so much. And that you just don't be afraid to put forth the effort, because it's not really that bad, because LEAP's pretty easy to learn. When I have a new guy come in, I can literally train him on the whole program within an hour, at least the basics, to where they can go home and start building estimates and doing things. It takes an hour. So what we used to have to do for days training someone, I send them out with one of our guys, and they watch them sell something on LEAP and go through the process. And by the time they actually have training on it, they've got most of it down, because it's really easy to use. So if you are thinking, oh, do I really want to do this? Yes, you do. and I know a lot of it is, okay, so I've got this information, and I've got these good ideas, and I want to use LEAP, but it's who do you have to go talk to make it happen, right? There's always, they say, okay, well, go listen to these people and come back and give me a report, right? Tell me what you think about it. Because I did the same thing. Trust me, remember, I was in the same seat. And it's so worth it that just me sitting here saying it's worth it. You have to try it. You have to put forth the effort, and it will change the way you do business. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So we do have a couple of questions coming in here. The first one is, do you have an admin to pull the customer's info from your CRM into LEAP, or do your salesmen do
it? So the way we have it set up is it's all done by customer ID. So we can put a customer ID in there and it populates. We're actually we're expanding our LEAP capabilities right now. Again, it's something you can keep building on and building on. Again, we're moving a lot of our foremen in now. So we are adapting ours. So you can do it both ways, right? It depends on what CRM you're using, but definitely your CRM can pull the information, no problem, and put it in the LEAP, so it's already there. So we're kind of a hybrid. Again, we're complicated. Everything we do is complicated. That's just the way we are. And it's funny. I always warn people of that, and they always don't believe me until we get busy on something. But so we do it both ways. It just depends on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we use LEAP for service calls too, and annual maintenance calls. So if a service technician out there, he can build a brand new LEAP file and merge it with the original. So we use it across the board for regular installs, service, annual maintenance, all that stuff.
Excellent. Yeah, and LEAP does integrate with quite a few CRMs. So if you've got one, and it can very easily pull that information through, but there is options to manually like have an admin or your sales rep or whomever go ahead and add that contact info in there.
And it takes 3 minutes. Like literally.
Yeah.
you type it in, you save it once, it's done.
Exactly. Yep. And it just pulls it right on through the whole process from beginning to the end. So very good. All right. Next question is, do you use the drop down price option for the total price at the bottom of the estimate page?
Yes. So depending on what we're doing, we have a couple different setups that we use, but yeah, we use, if someone's really wanting to know how things are broke down, that's a good way to do it. We explain it as we go, and so every line item, I'm a stickler for notes, because I'll tell you what we ran into, and it's a good thing to think about when you're doing this. So we went from having all these contracts with all this handwritten information, and again, this was an us thing, not a LEAP thing. It was LEAP's fault. So we went from having all this information to having a bunch of line items all of a sudden. So so let's say we're going to put 10 wall braces on the rear wall of the house, and the reps would have to write that out. The spacing of them, the fact that it's on the west wall. And so at the very beginning, they were just choosing a line item for wall braces and then moving on to the next thing. So what I did is I put a mandatory note for each line item. They hated me for it at first, but it really helped things, because now when you choose, 10 forced beams on the rear wall, you have to enter a note of the description, right? So that is where the details are. So little things you can customize like that. For us, it works really good because it adds all the details to the contract, and it's under each line item. So instead of having a separate special considerations page or a separate price page where everything's broke down, you can do that under each line item as you want to.
Perfect. Awesome. Hope that answers your question, John. Okay, so next question. How do you organize your annual maintenance in LEAP?
So our annual maintenance in LEAP is our system has tags in it. So it's called anniversary dates. I mean, I'm sure everybody uses or some of you do. So it's notified that way. So when the annual maintenance times come up, the system's notified, and then they just assign it to an AMS guy. So our call center will call that customer on the anniversary date and say, it's your anniversary date, it's time for a systems check, and then they schedule it out through that, and then they just assign it to a rep, and it shows up for them.
Perfect.
Everybody should do annual maintenance, by the way. It's a great moneymaker.
Yeah. Excellent. Do we have any more questions out there? If not, we'll go ahead and close out for the session today.
Hey guys, thanks for listening.
Right.
Like I said,
yeah.
If you have any more questions, absolutely.
Yeah. Feel free to reach out. This info@leaptodigital.com. You can go ahead and send your questions in there. That'll come through to me, and I can always, ping Ryan for some additional feedback on that. We'd love to, if you just think of some questions after we close out today, feel free to drop us a line there. I just want to say, Ryan, thank you so much for your time and your insights today. We really appreciate having you on and chatting with us today.
Anytime.
Yeah, appreciate it. So for everyone on the line, as you leave the webinar today, you're going to see a short survey pop up. We'd love to get your feedback on the session today. And if you have any topics that you'd like to hear about for future webinars, feel free to drop us a line there. We're always looking for, what you guys want to hear about. So feel free to leave your feedback on there, and we'd appreciate it. So Ryan, thanks again. Much appreciated. And thanks everyone for listening in today. Yeah. So enjoy your afternoon, everyone, and stay safe.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.